Hey, ¿qué pasa, Calexico? Welcome back to the podcast. Before we begin, like always, I'll thank my sponsors from the speech shows, Jake, Sergio, and Jonathan. Also want to thank David Castellum. If you're thinking of buying or selling a home in the Imperial or San Diego counties, make sure you call David Castellum, 760-235-9576. He's not only a realtor, but he's an investor with over 20 years of experience. So he'll help you along the way with, one of the most important investments in your life. I also want to thank my friends here at Calexico Brewing Company for allowing me to record today's episode here at the brewery. Thank you for that. Thank you for the space. And don't forget to come out and support and drink local beer. And today, I'm really excited about today because, I was going through this guy's Instagram and he's done some amazing work. Today we're here with Fernando Reza. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for having me.
Like always, I like to start with my guests, telling us a little bit about, themselves, little history as, you're here from the Valley.
Sorry.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into...
Sure, yeah. So I was born in Mexico City, moved to El Centro when I was about 5. Grew up there. I went up to school in LA, and then a little bit after that, I got into a friend of mine had a gallery up there, and I went to a show. Actually, it was about the TV show Lost back in I think it was 2006, and it was just a really cool art show. A lot of pop artists and everything. And I went home that day. I had Photoshop, and I was just messing around with it. And I just for a week, I just worked on posters and stuff. And finally, I submitted it to him, and he liked it, so I got put in a show, and then kind of from there I just started working on stuff. I went freelance a couple of years later. I put some stuff online. Some of that stuff went viral, and it just kind of just kept going from there. And I've been doing it for about 10 years now. So before that,
as a kid, you weren't somebody that drew, or was it something that
I would draw? I would definitely draw, but I would mess around on MS Paint a lot, I would kind of just with the mouse and everything, and I would do a lot of stuff like that, and just kind of silly stuff or just fun stuff. But it wasn't until until around 2006, 2007 that I started actually just kind of committing to it, and kind of being disciplined about it, and really taking it seriously as a thing.
So before that, you said you use MS Paint, and then you said you had a Photoshop on your computer. But before you went to the gallery, you would use Photoshop as just
Yeah, I kind of just had it. Actually, a friend of mine, shout out to Danny Lee if he's on there. But he just dropped out of animation school, and so he'd given me kind of the Adobe Master Suite kind of thing. So I just had it on my computer. It was taking up a bunch of space, and I would sometimes make little funny videos or something in After Effects. And but yeah, so I just opened up the program, started messing with it, and just kind of just doing stuff that I'd seen. Back then I was doing a lot of just copying a lot of old poster artists and stuff, and just kind of just doing different takes on stuff. And yeah, it just kind of went from there. And then I got my own style and kind of developed it and kind of worked on it.
So most of all of your artwork is done digital, and then you just...
Most of the time. Sometimes I'll draw it physically. I'll scan it in, or I'll draw different elements and then scan them in and kind of vector them, or I'll go over them in Photoshop and color them and everything. But yeah, most of the time I'll just do it on an iPad. I'll use maybe Procreate or something, and just kind of get the idea out and then kind of refine it in Photoshop.
Do you feel more comfortable doing it digital than on a sketchbook?
It depends. It depends what it is. It depends on the project. Sometimes, if it's something that's very graphic-y and it's very sharp and kind of vector, then it's definitely a lot easier on the computer, and you could zoom in on everything and kind of do stuff like that. If it's something that I'm just trying to get the brainstorming and just get ideas down on paper, it's definitely easier on paper to just kind of experiment and just do different things. So it definitely depends on the project for sure.
It's crazy, thinking about how you really weren't into it, and then you got into Photoshop, because Photoshop is not an easy program to use. It's something that it takes time to
Oh yeah, it's definitely a thing that I learned out of necessity, and I still I'll find like a new way to do something, and I never learned it like just base up like the whole program, you know. So every now and then I'll just like maybe watch a tutorial or something, and I'll be like, whoa, I've been like something that would have taken me hours, I could have just automated it, and I had no idea. So I still learn stuff like that all the time in Photoshop and Illustrator.
So it's you self-taught yourself?
Yeah, pretty. Those programs definitely, yeah. Yeah,
because
sure.
I mean it's I've tried doing a little bit of Photoshop here and there. I normally use GIMP since it's a free.
GIMP, yeah. I used to use GIMP too, yeah.
But yeah, it's like I do like really simple, basic stuff, and yeah, like I do like YouTube videos to kind of like help me out.
Oh yeah, that's like the best. Yeah, shout out to YouTube for all the help for sure.
Yeah, it's exactly like even for video editing when I edit stuff. YouTube is like the number one go-to
totally, yeah,
to learn. You've worked with a lot of like big companies. Can you name us a couple of the
I did starting out like one of the first big things I did. I did an outdoor campaign for Adult Swim, which is cool, for a show called Eagle Heart. And so we did some posters, some billboards, some murals in Brooklyn and stuff. I did an outdoor campaign for Disney. They did a movie called McFarlane USA a few years ago, and they hired me to do the cover for one of the soundtracks, the poster campaign for the premiere. I think they did a couple murals around McFarlane, around the area and stuff. That was really cool. Yeah, just different things. And then I linked up with some agencies that'll just kind of like I'll do freelance work maybe with Fox or something on certain. They'll reach out and I'll do maybe like a movie poster or something every now and then. Right now, what I'm doing a lot is I'm working with this gallery in Brooklyn who they'll buy the movie rights for kind of old cult movies, and then we'll make a poster together. And then it'll be an officially licensed poster, and we'll release it. They'll get it screen printed at like there's a lot of like real high end screen printing houses like Valhalla or DNG, like a lot of really cool stuff. They do a lot of cool stuff with like foil and kind of different layers and a lot of cool interesting things with. They do some really awesome work. So yeah, that's basically been the ride.
How did you feel like when the first time like some big company reached out to you to tell you like, hey, what's up? Can you do some artwork for us? Or like,
oh, it was weird. It was definitely like I didn't feel like ready for it, because it was like I think the first one I got was like an offer. There was like it was when that movie Super 8 was coming out.
Oh, okay.
You remember that movie?
Yeah.
So they just reached out to me and they're like, hey, like we're working on this movie, and it was like the ad agency that worked with the studio, and they were just like, do you have any ideas of what you could do? And I was like, I think I'd been in like maybe 2 shows at that point. I hadn't done very much. And so I came up with this like idea to do like these lunch boxes, and I didn't even know if I could print on the lunch boxes or what that process would be, but they liked the idea. And so I pitched them on it. They were all about it. And so I did the design and stuff, but it was really like, it was like a learning thing. And I was so like timid to like pitch anything. I was like, I didn't know, it's very intimidating, like to do it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to like freaking.
Yeah, and it's all going for approval, and you kind of imagine like, oh, maybe this person's gonna see it, maybe that person's gonna see it, And it's definitely intimidating. It's definitely interesting. But yeah, like since then, it's gotten a little bit easier to kind of like be comfortable in my own skin about it, and kind of like have some confidence in the ideas and kind of pitch them.
Did the lunchbox things get printed out, or was it
that kind of like ended? Well, I did the design, so they used the design for some stuff.
Oh, okay.
The lunchboxes never came together. The whole idea was like kind of intricate. It was going to be like a lunchbox, like an 80s lunchbox, because it was a very 80s based movie. But in the movie, there's like a monster in a train, and so like the monster's busting out of the train. That's part of the trailer, and so I was going to have the lunchbox be like really beat up from the inside out, and kind of be like really damaged,
like 3D kind of like,
yeah, kind of busted out, and I didn't know how I was going to do that or anything, so I kind of like just was like, listen, I need you guys to like do that. They're like, well, let's just go with the image, and so they use the image for a couple things, like on an international thing or something.
Do you have like this room full of your stuff that you've printed with? Like,
I try to. I end up like most of the time, like I'll buy frames and stuff, and then I'll usually just I'll end up using them for like a show or something, and kind of like I never get a chance to really set it up the way I want to, but I definitely am intending to. Yeah,
but it's crazy how you went from I'm just like going through the process of, you know, like you like going to a couple galleries and then, you know, doing a couple shows and then getting hit up by these companies.
Yeah, it was definitely like a couple. There was like a couple of things that kind of went into it. Like I did this series of business cards back a long time ago called Day Jobs, and it was just like pop culture characters, like their business cards, like what they would look like, you know.
Oh, okay.
And so it was just like a rundown. It was like the Flintstones, or like, you know, they were like, it was, and each one was like kind of stylized to the era or whatever. And it was just like all these fictional companies and stuff. And that like blew up pretty big. And then a little while after that, I did the first thing, which was like kind of like our biggest thing that we've done, is we did the Marvel, or I'm not Marvel, sorry, the Mario propaganda series. So it's like a bunch of Mario posters in a World War II style, and that went like real big. That went like to the front page of Reddit, and it was trending, and it was all this stuff. And that's what really like that. After that, I was able to get, you know, studio space and like, you know, like really like go full time. I quit my job and kind of like just did that full time, and yeah, it was huge.
What were you doing before?
Just a bunch of like, you know, just small time jobs. I was when I was down here before I'd moved away, I worked at the Ivy Press for a while. I was kind of a junior reporter. I did the stories of the what's it called, the stories of the week, where you would kind of like, it'd be like 50 years ago, 40 years ago, or something, like stuff that had happened in the valley, you know. And then when I moved up to LA, I was working at like it was like a homeless shelter outreach program kind of thing. I worked at a couple video stores up there, just kind of like, you know, just,
video stores.
Yeah, I did at video stores. That's how far back it was. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. So you, I mean, I'm not trying to ask age, but you grew up in 80s, 90s, kind of.
Yeah. I'm 32, so yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it was 80s, 90s, around that time.
Yeah, because I'm 37, and you know, looking through your Instagram and through your art, you know, a lot of the stuff that you draw is like kind of like my childhood, like, you know.
Oh yeah.
Mario. What else did I see that was Macho Man, Randy Savage, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's like, wow, like, so like, and a lot of people say that nostalgia sells better than, you know, than sex. So like, yeah. I don't know if you've noticed that people like the demographic of age, you know, are they buying, like, people that are like kind of like my age are buying your stuff? Or
yeah, I think it really like disarms people for sure. Nostalgia, like, it really like makes people feel connected a lot more. So if you hit them like in the right place there, yeah, like it definitely has an impact more. But like I try to put like a new spin on it, maybe, you know, and like not have it to just be too kind of sappy and nostalgic, you know what I mean? I want it to have kind of a cool angle to it and kind of have like a different take on it sometimes. But yeah, definitely have a nostalgia.
Again, I feel like it depends on you know what they're asking you to do, right? Like,
yeah.
So what is something that, you know, you prefer to draw? Like, is it more like pop culture stuff, or
yeah, well, I definitely like the pop culture stuff for sure. I mean, that's the stuff that's kind of like there's definitely been like this a community of followers in that world. There's even a documentary that came out not too long ago called 24x36, and it's all about kind of the underground alternate movie poster scene. And there's a whole scene that's burgeoned up out of Austin and a couple other spots where like they have Mondo Gallery 1988. That's the first gallery I showed with.
I wanted to talk to you about that, but a little bit later.
And they've really brought up this whole kind of new scene of like just different takes on these old movies, and it's really exciting. It's like really cool stuff, and so that's definitely rewarding when I can do something in kind of that vein. I like to do just kind of like weird, I know, kind of like quirky stuff that like is like I just do for myself, and then sometimes if that connects with people, that's really rewarding. So I like to do that for sure. Do
you feel that like most of the stuff that you do for like yourself, is it more popular than stuff that you get asked to do? Like if a big company asks,
it definitely depends. I mean, sometimes like I'll do something and I'll be like, wow, this like reference is way too deep. Like no one's gonna get it. And then sometimes like a couple people do, and like when people, you know, like I really like appreciate that, you know. But yes, it definitely depends. Sometimes like I'll get like a more corporate job or something, and I'll like I'll start like by not being too excited about it, but then I'll get into it and I'll definitely like start appreciating it more. So that can be like really rewarding too.
What's the like the process? Like say Marvel comes up to you and like says like, we want a poster for I don't know, let's say Black Panther. Like, what do they give you? Like, we want a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or is it just like
it's real specific a lot of times? Like so a lot of times they'll have because the people that buy the rights, it's a very kind of specific breakdown. Like sometimes they'll have likeness rights, in which case you can use the kind of actors' faces, but in those cases you might have to get approval from the actor themselves to use it. Sometimes it'll be something that you just kind of get the emotion of the movie where you can't really show anything in particular. It's real sensitive, like, maybe they don't want to reveal anything or anything like that. So it definitely varies. And sometimes it'll be like, if it's a movie that's going to come out, sometimes you'll get to see a trailer of it. Sometimes you'll get to see maybe just a few pictures. I worked on Guava Island recently, the Donald Glover movie that he did with Rihanna.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was like super locked down. I got to see almost nothing, and there was just a couple photos and stuff, and they had very specific directions. So on that stuff, you can't really, there's not a lot of room, and
you got to branch out.
Yeah. So you got to kind of like just kind of gauge where the vibe is and kind of find some kind of put a visual to it, and that can be a little tough. But yeah, it definitely varies from job to job, and it's very specific to whatever it is,
Do you feel like you do better when it's like more of a, directions, like, oh, this is, or like when you're like, just go at it, whatever you.
That's a good question. It depends on if it's something that I've already connected with, then I can, then I prefer to just be like, go nuts with it and just do something. If it's something that I'm kind of like, don't know very much about and I'm just trying to kind of glean something from it, then, direction's important. But yeah, it definitely changes from job to job for sure.
Do you have a piece that you were like surprised that it went viral? Like, what's the biggest piece that you're like, oh crap, I didn't think it was in?
Oh yeah, okay. Well, last year, Last Jedi came out, and it kind of, I thought everyone kind of like appreciated it, but then eventually, I don't know if you heard about the blowback on it, where everyone was really upset with it, and there's a whole movement against it, and a lot of people had a lot of issues with it. So last year I was watching it and I was just thinking, I'd heard about this, I don't know if you heard about this thing where they wanted to remake The Last Jedi. So a bunch of fans got together and they were really angry about it, and they wanted Luke to be tougher in it, they wanted him to be more prominent. They thought that the character of Rey was too prominent and too it's called a Mary Sue, where like a girl character is kind of given free reign to be like like everybody in the movie loves her, and she's basically overpowered to the level that it ruins the movie. That's the allegation, right? And so everybody was upset about it. They said they wanted to remake it, which I thought was crazy. So I did a fake movie poster kind of the remake, where it has like Luke Skywalker and he's like totally like ripped and he has like a gun, and like Rey's like cooking a meal in the kitchen, you know what I mean? It's like totally like just silly and ridiculous. And I put that up and it just blew up. It was crazy. I was expecting I was like, oh, maybe I'll print out like 10 of these and just kind of sell them as a joke or something, And it like crazy blew up. The director responded to it, Rian Johnson. Really? Yeah, Mark Hamill responded to it. Wow. Like it was pretty huge, and that was crazy. I didn't expect that at all.
So when it comes to stuff like that, where you're like, oh, I'm gonna do a poster like on my own, like, and you want to sell it, how does it work with like the licensing and stuff like that?
Well, so that's where you got to be careful, because like sometimes, especially now, I try to go like super, just whatever. I only sell licensed stuff, and so unless it's like something that I feel is like enough of a spoof, or like that it's that it has enough of its own original take, I try to stay away from selling stuff other than that, and then just hold out for, if I have a really good idea for a movie poster, maybe I'll pitch it to, if I find out who has the rights to it, I'll pitch it to them and see if we can work on something together. So for the most part, I try to do it that way, because it's a little bit safer, unless it's like like an idea that is far away removed, and it's like enough of a kind of alternate take on the thing or whatever. I'm like saying something with it, or it's like an artistic take. Then I'll. Yeah,
it's kind of like when it comes to like YouTube, like how like you can do parody stuff, but sometimes like there's a borderline where like it's like parody or copyright stuff. Like, so it's similar to like.
Yeah, it's really like it's really in the weeds. Luckily, like this whole genre of like alternate movie posters like has been pretty well received by the people that are making the movies. I mean, the fact that they like have reached out to me to do stuff and they've reached out to other artists to do stuff is amazing. And it kind of shows that there's like kind of a synergy to the relationship where like they benefit, we benefit, and we can kind of work together on stuff. And so they've had a lot of like grace towards artists and let them kind of
that's
do their own
that's
thing.
Cool because if you think about it, at the end of the day, like it'll kind of like bring back the popularity of the if it's an older movie, like people will be like, if they don't know what it is, like they'll go and search it and maybe even watch it.
Oh, totally, yeah.
So it's kind of like like promote a little bit of promotion, free promotion for them. So it seems like common sense to kind of like let it go.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the vibe, and we definitely appreciate that because definitely early on I would be a lot more cavalier about it and kind of just put stuff out without really thinking twice about it. And so luckily I've kind of reined that in a little bit and kind of just stuck to just kind of legit things. And so
yeah, it's better to play it safe than
especially to like maintain relationships with everybody and kind of just not step on anyone's toes or do anything too egregious. So
have you had a chance to meet like actors because of the work you've done?
A couple of times. There's been a couple things like we got to go to like the premiere of the McFarlane movie, which is cool. We got to meet everybody from that movie, and sometimes if there's a project, maybe I'll get to hear someone on an intercom every now and then. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to think of like at shows and stuff. So like if I do a show through. Like we've done a couple shows through Gallery 1988 that were pretty high profile, and they'll get like the studios involved. Mm-hmm. Like we did the Avengers show back in 2012 for the first Avengers movie, and they had a bunch of it was actually really cool. They had a bunch of the actors there, and they had the art show, and they had like these cupcakes. It was actually like a challenge on one of those cupcake shows to make Avenger cupcakes, and that was the big like if you won, you got to your cupcakes were featured or whatever. So yeah, like you get to. A little bit, like you definitely get to run into some people.
That's cool. Tell us a little bit about Gallery 1988. I kind of like follow it because of a YouTuber that I listened to. Steve, I don't know if you know Steve Zaragoza.
Yeah.
So I listened. I've been a fan since he was in SourceFit, and I've actually met him like 2, 3, or 4 times.
Oh, cool. Right on.
And actually, I was listening to his podcast yesterday, and they were talking about Gallery 1988, and they were kind of like promoting it because they do a lot of cool shit, like like the stuff you do, like it's like kind of like their.
Oh, can we cuss? I don't know if we could cuss.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy. Okay. I would like to change some of my answers. No, just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't think kids listen to this shit. So.
All right.
But yeah, tell us a little bit what Gallery 1988 is.
Yeah, Gallery 1988. It's like the first. Real pop culture gallery that started up. It was definitely like the first one I remember it popping up on like I was on Tumblr like to promote it, and like I remember seeing their stuff. It's run by Jensen and Katie. Like they've been running it for years, and I remember the first thing I saw from them. The first time I attended was the Lost show because I was just a huge fan of Lost. But before that, I remember seeing like these cool matchbooks, and I forgot the artist who made them. But they were like these matchbooks, and they had like paintings on the top of the matchbooks, these tiny paintings. They also had these like family portraits of like famous families from movies. They had like the Torrances from The Shining and stuff, and they just looked like these like funny like sketched like family portraits in kind of like oval frames. And I just thought it was amazing. It's like it's such a cool place because it's like the middle ground between like snobby high end art and kind of you know like just. Like kind of silly, like
nerdy, like
nerdy stuff, and it's kind of like a little bit more elevated. It's kind of like curated. It's cool. It's been awesome. I just did a show with them last month. They did a Yu-Gi-Oh show for the anime thing in LA. Like so, they had a big anime fest in LA, and so they got Yu-Gi-Oh and Konami like approached them to like host the show, and it was a lot of fun. Like I didn't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh, but I kind of like I started researching. I just did like a long night with just like getting into it. It was cool. I mean, I ended up doing this piece where I don't know if you've seen that Banksy piece where he sold a print and it came down and got shredded. So I did the same thing. Like I got this replica of like a $8,000 card that they have. I think it's the forbidden one or something like that. And so I brought it down and like I just cut it with scissors, and it was like halfway out of the frame, you know.
Oh, okay.
And so I was selling it for like $8,000.
Oh.
But yeah, no, it's fun, man. They always do a lot of cool shows. Like a lot of the topics are really cool. The group shows are always fun. They do a Crazy for Cult show every year. It's just a bunch of cult movies. They've been doing it. I think it's on like the 8th year. Every other, like they do a couple books where they just compendiums where they just have all the artwork in there, and those are always cool. Yeah, some of my, like the stuff that I've had the most fun doing is definitely for Gallery 1988 shows.
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, I know it's in LA, but like I hardly like. I'm not a big traveler, so like, yeah, that's one of my on my bucket list and go to the gallery and buy something.
Yeah, it's cool, man. We did a WWE show last year for SummerSlam with them, and it was like super like tied in with WWE, sorry, was like there, like they a bunch of the wrestlers came out for the show. I think Stephanie McMahon came out for the opening. Like, yeah, it's cool stuff, man, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people don't know about the. I mean, especially here in the Valley, don't know about that gallery. And you can follow them on Instagram. I mean, if you can't go to the gallery, you can buy stuff online from them.
Yeah, everything goes online after the show closes.
So like, I mean, follow them on Instagram and then check out their website. But it's a lot of cool stuff that's like related to like 90s, 80s kids.
Yeah,
and sure. Maybe like even some like stuff from before, like cult, like you said, cult movies that people watch. But yeah, it's really fun, to take that, these artists that are shown there that, they take on movies or shows or cartoons and whatnot.
And also shout out to, there's another gallery in San Francisco, Spoke Art. They're like one of the best ones too. They're awesome. Like a great time working with them. And Bottleneck Gallery in Brooklyn. They're all kind of the same genre, same vibe a little bit. And they're all great. They're all just kind of putting out amazing stuff always. So it's become like a really cool kind of like close-knit community of artists and gallery owners and stuff that we all kind of work together and kind of just it's a lot of fun. That's
cool. I met you at the art walk. That's how, and I saw some of the paintings that you did, and on the ones that you brought, you had like a valley, like kind of like poking joke at valley stuff, like Dippy the Duck, the haystack, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about the art that you brought to the art walk?
Yeah. So about like when we moved back down, we were up in LA for about 10 years, and then we moved back down, and I really wanted to do like kind of an art show down here that was just kind of embracing the valley and just kind of like a lot of people that move away, they kind of have like this terrible kind of idea of the valley, and they kind of like, but it's weird because it's like in these small towns, especially these small like desert towns and stuff, it feels like you don't really have a sense of at least I didn't, growing up, like, everyone that I grew up with that was going to move away kind of had that vibe where they didn't like it here. So it was hard to kind of get, like, feel a sense of community and everything. So I wanted to do something that kind of just showed the things, that are connecting people in the valley for sure. Like, I did a series of portraits of, like, small town heroes. So it has like these people that we all kind of recognize, but we might not all, maybe we don't talk to them or anything, but everyone notices and kind of is just like, oh yeah, we all know this guy's like the guy that salutes the flag every day out. Yeah,
your wife showed me those.
Yeah, and the guy from Pizza Hut with the kind of crazy Afro mullet thing, you know. And these are just people that are just we know, and then like the little prints are kind of just like a take on like the water tower, a bunch of these things, And I just wanted to do something kind of hometown with a hometown vibe that's cool, people could relate to, and that was fun and lighthearted.
How important do you feel that to use your art for like activism, like to talk about politics and I don't know, like stuff that is impacting the world, like I don't know, say climate change or whatnot, like stuff like that. Now that you have like this following, how important do you feel like it is for you to kind of like use it as a?
Oh, it's important. It's definitely important. It's definitely tough these days, because it's so kind of overwhelming, everything that's coming out and everything, So, but it's also tough to find like a space where like you're saying what you want to say, but you're not just like just letting it all out there, and it's just like you're just screaming like a crazy person, you know what I mean, or just doing picture after picture where you're like about the camps or something. But that's what it feels like everyone should be doing, you know what I mean, because it's so crazy. So I don't know. It's a tough line to draw. So every now and then I'll like just want to say something, and maybe I'll put something out, and then maybe I'll be like, all right, just ease off for a little while. It's a hard thing to do, you know what I mean? Because it's tough, especially for me, because my stuff is very, it's very pop art, it's very lighthearted and everything, and so I don't want to, it's a little bit of escapism for people, so I don't want to, take that space that people are going to for a little escapism and kind of like beat them over the head with politics or anything, So I kind of got to draw the line somewhere. But I definitely think it's important, and I definitely think it's the thing that's worth saying, and it's
I feel that, like, to me, the other day I got somebody from Hikari reached out to me, and they have this podcast, and they were like, hey, can you tell us a little bit about Trump's presidential run for the 2020 blah blah blah. And I kind of like started recording something, and I was like, it's so overwhelming. Like, you're afraid to put something out there and like kind of like get all this backlash because you put your opinion or
I mean, it is, and it's not just it's the backlash for sure, but then it's just like now you just have to do that all the time,
Yeah, you
like
become this.
Yeah, like now that's your job, which I'll do that though. Like every now and then, I'll get on like Reddit or something like with a throwaway account, and I'll just go like into the Donald and just like start like talking trash all day just to get it out. You know what I mean? And you can only do one comment, because then you'll get kicked out.
Yeah. But have you seen Jim Carrey's art on?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel about his?
I think it's cool. I think it's cool. But it is well, it's the thing that I think, like, like if I go full tilt with, like, just being like, oh, I just want to do like something political, I might end up just doing that and kind of like, and then I don't know, I don't even know what I'd be doing at that point, you know what I mean? It'd just be too crazy.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's awesome what he's doing. I think it's really cool. Like,
Yeah, cool. I mean, it's different, and he's like, I mean, I saw this episode. I think he was on Comics and
running cars, comedians in cars, or something. Comedians in coffee and cars.
Yeah, something like that with Seinfeld.
Yeah.
He was on the show, and he showed him his art, and it's like, wow, this guy is really talented. Mm-hmm. Like to like kind of like be out there, like create like this funny comedian, and then like do this art. He's pretty talented.
Yeah.
And have you seen his movie with the one with when he was in the Andy Kaufman movie?
Oh yeah.
That's
shout out to Andy Kaufman, man. Yeah, my favorite.
You recently did a portrait of like kind of like a children's book for Andy Ruiz.
Yeah.
Has he reached out to you or?
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't reach out to me, but when he came down, we went to see him at the parade and everything, and then after that they had a little event where you could meet and greet, and I was able to meet his family, and they liked the print, and they gave him a bunch of prints. He signed a couple. He said he liked it, that it looked like his son and everything. So,
oh really?
Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was
yeah,
dude, that fight was just so amazing.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
Huh? Oh, yeah, I talked about it in the episode after the week after he won, and it's just crazy how he even got to be in that fight.
Yeah, the story's crazy. I remember going out to see him like at StubHub when he was fighting and everything, and just how it was back when he was with Bob Arum, and Bob Arum would always, he was supposed to be his promoter, but he was always kind of talking trash about him and putting him down a little bit. And
yeah,
the guy was obviously talented. It was crazy, his hand speed and everything. And, I remember the Joseph Parker fight, staying up for that to watch that, and it's just amazing the way he's come through, man. It's really crazy.
Being from somebody from the Valley, that's you kind of like, not kind of, but like you've made it big, and you've worked with all these big companies. Is there something that you kind of like, if a kid from the Valley like would ask for advice, what would you tell him about somebody that's an artist? Because I don't know if you got to see some of the artists at the art walk, or just
yeah, definitely, yeah.
What would you tell like somebody that's from here that kind of like wants to like, go out to LA or somewhere like New York or whatever to
I would tell them, just keep working on what you're doing. Just, gain confidence in your voice and find the style that works for you. Keep on it. If you're reach out to me. Because I'm trying to put together a little gallery space or something, and kind of just focus on local artists and stuff. So yeah, anything I could do to help build that spirit down here would be awesome.
Yeah, and I feel that El Centro has this big, this kind of like a big group, the downtown group, Jared. Yeah. They do a good job of, they've created this community where, they always put on, like last night they had a little art walk, kind of like impromptu art walk. But I feel like Calexico kind of like needs that, where, they did the art walk, but they only did it like every so often. But I feel that El Centro has that downtown area where, it's kind of hard because they're trying to keep it alive as to, because it's kind of like going the business and the infrastructure in downtown is kind of like, going.
Oh yeah, that's the big thing. That's the big thing about downtown. It's tough to get people to come out, and so I've been doing shows out there and helping out where I can, like in just kind of advice or whatever, and helping that grow. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge to get people to come out there. But when people do, they love it. Like the shows out there are so much fun. Like, and you could tell that all the artists there have built this community. You know what I mean? You got these people that you see out there all the time, and they're doing their art, and it's you see their progress, that they're growing and everything, and it's just really cool. Like what's happening down there. So yeah, it's definitely something that you want to see everywhere, and that's the first step to getting these areas to come up. That you see the artist communities build up and start working with the city and maybe beautification projects or stuff like that, and places start coming up. People start coming out, be feeling more comfortable. It's the first line of
Yeah, I feel that when you give like artists or like young people like that opportunity to like do like a mural, they kind of like feel like there's a like ownership. This is mine. So like they kind of keep an eye out for it. So like it kind of like makes more eyes like to kind of like keep the city looking clean and
totally. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, totally.
So I always talk about the people from El Centro, because I feel like I follow them on Instagram, and that's how I kind of like a lot of the artists that I've been talking to, like interviewing, is like through Instagram, like going to hashtags and stuff like that, and that's how I get to discover like all this hidden talent. Because to like people that are in that little group, it might not seem hidden, but to us that aren't like really looking for it, it's like, wow, these guys are doing some amazing job, and
totally.
And that bringing that sense of community to the valley, it's important, because I don't know, it's just like when you see the like these articles where like the unemployment rate and the homelessness and all this stuff, like it kind of like, I feel like having that sense of community kind of like helps everybody in the valley. So it's crazy, because like probably like 90% of my episodes I talk about the El Centro group. So and it's
that's awesome, man. That's really cool. Yeah, no, it's and definitely like going out there. It's especially if you go on the right night, and there's like a show opening or something. It feels like you found some like a secret thing that's going on.
Yeah,
it really feels like a kind of a hidden thing, and like you're part of something that's growing. I remember when we first moved down, I was like, I had all these ambitions. I was like, oh, I'm gonna start an art walk down here. I'm gonna start an art show. People are gonna, I'm gonna spread culture. Like I was gonna bring it down, and it was all here, man. It was all here. It was always has been here. Like there's always been that movement down here. There's always been talent down here, and it was awesome. Like I first, I think Ernie and Jessica over at Strangers, and then I met Jared, and then Liz at Tandik. Everyone there is kind of like just has this mentality of just community and kind of building people up and stuff, and it's just been amazing just to be a part of it, and just kind of like see people there, and just you see the people coming out, people that maybe would just stop by for one show, then you see them at everybody's shows, and you start seeing it grow and everything. It's really awesome.
And I feel like, because I haven't been to a show, and it's really because like I don't feel like my family is like kind of like, I want to bring everybody, like kind of like show up, but they're like, oh no, we got something on now. Okay, but I kind of want to bring them so that they get that, like we're like, oh crap, this is really fun, and there's amazing artists, and like kind of like so that we can keep going as a family and you know, building that sense of community.
Yeah, and that's definitely what I definitely want it to move in that direction where, you know, it's people can bring their families, people can come out and, you know, have a good time there and feel safe and feel, you know, like it's a comfortable environment and like just feel kind of the sense of community and love out there, you know. So I hope you know, I hope you do, because it's really cool. Like we just did we did the Jason Jackson show. I don't know if you heard about that. Yeah. And it was people like really responded to it, man. It was amazing. And you know, I think everybody when they first heard about it thought it was going to be kind of a very like pointed kind of like angry kind of protest show, but it wasn't. It was a very like it was like fun. It was very tongue in cheek, very fun and kind of like inclusive. You know, people like a lot of people there. Like some people cried. You know what I mean? People were like into it. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun.
That's crazy. The last couple of episodes, I talked to people who are. I talked to Carla Cordero. I don't know if you heard of her. She's a poet from Calexico, but she lives in San Diego. She's a professor and she's super young. I'll send you her link so you can check out her stuff.
Cool.
And then I spoke to this other artist from Calexico, Roberto Pozos. He's kind of like old.
I saw. Yeah, I came out here when he did a show here. Yeah.
So I spoke to him, and one thing that we talked about and we focused on was kind of like that Chicano vibe. Do you you know, I don't know, like, do you feel like you're in that vibe, or is it like something that you don't?
Well, it's definitely like a vibe. Like it's a vibe that I'm in. You know what I mean? I live in it. You know what I mean? And I mean, you know, I'm second generation Mexican American. I mean, well, I was from Mexico. That's what I'm talking about. No, so you know, like all my family, most of my family's in Mexico City. You know what I mean? So and moving down here and up in LA, like, you know, I'm real good friends with Ernesto. You know, Ernesto Urena, who does amazing, you know, culturally significant art and stuff. So it's definitely like a vibe. I don't know if it's permeated its way into my artwork. You know, my stuff's a lot more pop culture heavy, and you know, it's kind of a different vibe. But I think that in some aspect it's got to, you know, bleed through. You know what I mean? Because just that's my life. It's my day to day. So it's not been a thing that I've tried to pursue in its own right. But who knows? You know, maybe it will. I'll start. You know, maybe I'll go down that path. But as of right now, I think it's just whatever. You know, if it's in there, it's in there because that's who I am. You know? Yeah. Because I feel that
we were talking about, you know, people from the valley that they don't have like they want to move away and stuff like that. And I feel that the majority of the people who grew up here and then they go away, they kind of like, you know, get that. They realize the fact that, you know, being here, like we're in this bubble where like we really don't face, you know, this maybe like kind of like racism. Like, you know, we're Mexican and we live in a community that's 90%, 95%, you know, Hispanic.
Yeah.
So like going away to like a bigger city, you might face that, you know, discrimination where it comes to like, oh, you're brown and I feel that, you know, a lot of the people that I've talked to, like that's what happened. Like, you know, being here, like they felt comfortable going away, and that's when that's the reason I ask you, like, since you live in a bigger city, I don't know if you've found that need to like kind of like identify as a Chicano, or, you know, going to that community.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I appreciate that community for sure, you know, and it's definitely played a role in my life. But I think that and I think you'll find discrimination everywhere. I think I probably found more at least on the surface, like, you know, racism probably down here. Well, it might be just because, you know, the people that I was around in LA were probably, you know, is it definitely like a little like enclave of like, you know, it's kind of self-enclosed. I think it really depends, but I think when it comes to, you know, the Chicano community and everything, I think it's there for for everyone who needs. I mean, everyone who grows up in this experiences shares it, and it's there to kind of lift you up and hold you, give you strength when you need it, and it's there, it's always there, and you contribute to it, you take from it, and it's just the thing that we all share, and kind of it's kind of this ecosystem of
kind of like a religion, there's a lot of times like you don't feel like you need religion, but like when you're down, like you're like
exactly, and that it's like this net that like lifts everybody up, you know what I mean, and you do what you can to like contribute to it and kind of give back, and as long as everyone's doing that, it's a good thing,
that's I'd never thought about it that way, and it is a that kind of like a smaller, or like a religion where like you need or like like family, like you need you're feeling down or alone, and you go and seek help from them.
You go back to the well,
so like, is there anything else that you would like to add that we didn't talk about today?
I just want to say that it's the city councils down here are going nuts. I just want to say that what's going on
here, where in Calexico,
all over. I don't know if you've noticed, it's been pretty wild.
It's the summer. I think it's the heat.
It's the heat. It's been crazy, man. I don't know.
But if you want to plug your Instagram,
sure, follow me at Frodesign Co on Instagram. We're looking to get an art space hopefully soon, so we'll probably be doing some local shows and everything, so follow us to stay ahead of that. And
cool. Where Fro Design, like Fro, where does it come from? Or
well, my name's Fernando, so like it's just kind of gotten shortened. Fro. When I was little, I had I slicked back my hair, but it was like the volume was intense, so
Oh, okay.
That's kind of where that came from.
Okay, cool. Well, Fernando, I want to thank you again for taking the time off and doing the podcast today. I was super excited because I saw your stuff and I was like, man, this guy's like super talented. I can't believe I before, because I saw your Andy Ruiz print, and I was like, man, this guy's this is pretty cool. I think that's when I started following you on Instagram, and I can't believe, especially since you showcase at 1988. I follow them on Instagram. I was like, I can't believe I didn't even know you're from here, from the valley.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, man. Thank you.
And shout out to Steven and I don't know if you know Mike Falzone. He's also a YouTuber / stand-up comedian from the LA area.
He sounds familiar.
He used to work at SourceFed as well.
Oh, okay, right on.
They talk a lot about Gallery 1988. They're kind of in the same range of my age, where they like all these especially like the posters and stuff like that cool. That you guys make and that sell there. But make sure that everybody that's listening, make sure you follow Fernando on Instagram. Go to his website and check out his art that you can buy from him. The Andy Ruiz print is there. How you can buy it from you on the website.
I don't think I have that for. I might have it for sale. I have to check, but I got to get the clear from him to all clear, so I don't get knocked out. So I'll check in on that.
I think he'll be okay. Yeah. Thank you again. And see you guys in the next one. Peace.
All right, man. Thank you.